Sean here, and the reason I talk on my videos is it's so much easier for me to just get my thoughts out. My son, however, is pushing me to do more creative editing. I can't really say no. I don't think he'll let me say no. It is interesting sometimes the takes he gives me about this little goblin from a teenager, just to hear what he would say. And I've come to realize that kids at that age, they don't really understand the implications. They know they don't like PDFs, but they don't really understand all of the things that come with being a PDF. The goblin is funny. He makes fun of the goblin and how the goblin likes girls his age. He'll say something like, the girls his age are crazy. And I just want to say, just wait till you get older, kid. Anyway, we're going to be talking about the things that the state will legitimately 100% be taking into consideration when it comes to his mental health care and the intervention that's ultimately going to come. He's already screwed because, number one, and you may find this on your local state's website, just to put this out there, some of this stuff, though, you might not, because if you have a sociopath or a psychopath and they know what you're looking for, they can alter their behavior. Socioeconomic status. And this is where Chance, he just strikes. He probably strikes out on this one alone. Well, not really, because you have to go through the others. But one of the things that they look at is unemployment, because that is a huge factor. If you can't afford, if you don't have access to adequate mental health care, and you don't have access to resources, it puts a lot of stress on the individual. And I would say Cyraxx looks stressed. I'm not 100% sure if he really enjoys living in the attic. It's almost like a relationship where you're treated like crap and you don't know what real love is or what a real relationship is until you're in one. Cyraxx has been in that dust-covered, roach-infested, bed-bug-infested attic for so long, he probably doesn't know anything else. Mommy still takes care of him. But when you look at their socioeconomic status, they're going to check the record. I am guessing, I don't know exactly how this works. I don't know how long this takes to get access to the records. But has he ever been to a mental health care professional for real? Not on the phone, not one of the buddy trolls. Real mental health care, if they determine that he needed it. Plus his physical health. How many times has he been to the doctor? How many times have you been to hospital, mate? Also, does the family, can they afford good food? And they eat good food. But is Cyraxx eating Hot Pockets or other processed garbage? Diet is so important. So is sleep when it comes to mental health. And I don't think he has good either of those. He does meet the housing requirements. He does have a place to stay, a roof over his head. But once again, if he does not have access to nutritional food, they're going to have to fix that. One of the biggest things is education. They are going to look at this goblin like he is a typical case, though, about unemployment and lack of education and how it can affect his mental health and put stress on him. They call them challenges, but we know he thinks he's employed. And this is another factor. He thinks he's employed. He thinks he has a job. He thinks he's going to be making millions, or he's already owed millions. They're going to look at that and be like, what the fuck? One of the things that comes along with employment, specifically real employment, social connection and social interaction. If you're isolated, if you've ever been isolated, if you've ever heard stories about people who are trapped on a mountain for lengthy periods of time or on an island, you've seen Castaway, you know they talk to themselves. They did a little bit of research, that movie, and you will find inanimate objects and make them your friends. How many things in his room are his friends? How much does he talk to himself? I don't think Sally and Ed want to hear any of his problems. None. Any issue that comes up, they're like, yeah, whatever, take it up to the attic. In some cases, legitimate discrimination, sexuality, disability, skin color, whatever it is, legitimate discrimination, which does not happen as much as you're being told it happens. real studies, especially with a lot of laws in place, none of that applies to Cyraxx. He thinks he has been discriminated against in high school and that he's been discriminated against in the music industry, which is, of course, one of his jobs, as he would say. All of that in real life. Imagine you were discriminated against for real and you were struggling. This is why it's so important that we've moved into the modern era. Just imagine, for whatever you're being discriminated against, it just becomes a sticking point for you and you can't get past it, and you start to think that there's something wrong with you. Well, there is something wrong with Cyraxx, but he has not truly been discriminated against in a way that would affect his mental health, in my opinion. I think Sally may enjoy the idea of him being discriminated against and may also tell him, well, Chance, we can't let you do that. We're getting benefits. I mean, you're being discriminated against. You can't get a real job, bud. Here's where it gets deep and a little tricky, because they're going to start to talk about genetics and neurological factors, mental health history, physical health history, and not just for him, but his family, things that are hereditary. Now, those aren't as important as the actual genetics of the goblin himself, which they're going to find out he's like a hodgepodge. Like when he was being born, we don't know what to do. Just hodgepodge it together. Get some duct tape and some Elmer's glue and let's just do it. Now, I will give Cyraxx one thing. Looking like he does, sounding like he does, I don't know if he ever understood just how different he was, just how weird he was, until he stepped out of high school, that safety bubble, where kids are probably told, don't make fun of the hills have eyes, kid. That would affect you a lot. When I got in my car accident, I told you guys I was scheduled to be a model in the JCPenney catalog the next day. And I got in that car wreck and it changed my life forever. It ripped off part of my nose, split my lip down the middle, and it was just spread apart. Somehow, I returned stronger than ever. I think the girls may have liked the scars even more. But I was so afraid that people were going to mess with me. When I was in the Marine Corps, I was the guide in MRP, and Sergeant Dixon used to call me Rat Nose. If I get out in the sun and I get super tan like I do, like almost immediately, my scar, if I don't take care of it, can turn red, because it's a skin graft. I don't even think about it anymore. It's just become so much a part of me, which I do wonder if that's Chance's looks. He's just accepted that he looks the way he does, doesn't care about his physical appearance, because what's the point anyway? There's nothing I can do about it. Sorry, I jumped into Lauren Armstrong. I apologize. But here's where we win. Cyraxx's personal, individual beliefs, we know what he believes. We know what he thinks of himself. We know his perception of reality. It is not based in reality. He lives in the matrix. His experiences with mental health, think about it. Think about all of his reactions, his learned behavior. All it would take is just like a year, 12 months of Cyraxx, the Music Biz Marty arc. Yeah, you could say he's being trolled and everything, but you could look at Cyraxx's gullibleness, look at his rage, his psychosis, the fact that his delusion, he'll believe you if you tell him he's amazing at singing, oh, darkness, my old friend, and you just listen to that song alone, and then how he gloats after he sings it, and that he thinks he really is this massive, worldwide, internationally known singer, a superstar, a celebrity. And then you go back and look at all the other factors we talked about, and you ask yourself, is a superstar, international celebrity, living in a dank attic? You guys heard what I think it's like living in that attic, so I'm not going to repeat it. But in that bedbug-infested attic, and you're an international celebrity owed millions, and you're the greatest thing ever, and you're totally normal, you have no mental health problems, and everything is everyone else's fault, you are going to hear the words timely and effective when it comes to mental health care, also state intervention. What stage is he at? Where are we coming in? Are we coming in at stage 3, or is he at like stage 100, where he's so far gone What's the speed we need to intervene? How fast do we need to get in there? What kind of care do we need to give him? How can we help him? Can he be helped? There's so much that they have to take into consideration, and that they will take into consideration. And here is something he would not be able to plan for. I don't know if you know what cultural competence is, but it's basically cultural interaction. Can you coexist with people from other cultures, and do you understand them, and can you work with them? Well, if you've got to give me a different a different definition for A and the hard R, I mean, that's strike one right there. I mean, that's not the deciding factor, but we know he would not understand the differences and why everyone else doesn't believe exactly what he believes, why they don't act like him. I mean, hopefully not why they don't look like him, but he doesn't understand their background, how they've integrated into society. If they come from another country, would he even respect it? When it comes to cultural competence and care, they don't have to worry about that for Cyraxx. He has no extenuating factors. He's not from a unique background. He's just a redneck, a poverty-stricken redneck living in filth. That's not a cultural difference. That's a cultural choice. And yes, there are circumstances out of their control, but at the same time, they aren't working to make it better. They want to isolate themselves from the world, get away with whatever they are suspected of getting away with, lock the little goblin in the attic, lock the little goblin in the house. I know a lot of people think it's to keep the people from getting in, but I think it's 50-50. It's also to keep him from getting out, especially if it's like a key lock or a number lock, because the dude, he can't read, doesn't know his numbers. The answer to the lock combination, Cyraxx, is 3 times 3, 1 times 2, and 4 times 3. Can you figure that out? I don't think so. And there is no early intervention for him. It is too late. So there's no early intervention. They can only hope for the earliest intervention, the earliest access to healthcare to stop the progress, the development of more delusions. They're going to have to give him access to health care. I don't know what kind of health care. I don't know if they're going to be walking with him step by step or assign him classes. We've seen what that does with Lauren Armstrong. The dude can't pass his grape class. He's still in there. He doesn't, I mean, come on. If you can't pass a class that tells you that doing bad things is bad, and you can't get out of there when it's state mandated, there's an issue. I think we'd be right there with Cyraxx. He'd resist everything. He wouldn't want to pass because he's doing nothing wrong. It's all the trolls. It's all the catfishing by Lauren. It's the internet caused me so much hurt. And just like Cyraxx, the internet caused me so much hurt. They would likely call it a lifespan for this care. It kind of ends when Cyraxx ends or he's miraculously cured. Those protective measures they put in place to ensure that the lifespan is as long as possible. And who knows, a diet change and proper medication, you could see real growth in Cyraxx possibly, but you'd have to snatch his ass away because of protective care from the internet. Get him away from what's making him so miserable, even if he doesn't understand or know it or want it. And I've wondered, all of these factors, is if Cyraxx wouldn't be such a unique case. They do system and policy changes all the time, which is why it's so difficult to keep up with. Would Cyraxx be one of those cases where they're like, wow, we really need to handle this piece that we haven't handled in that way before? So if you take all that into consideration, and that's a simplified version without getting into all of the specifics, it's just an overview. I'd be curious to know if your state has the same policies, the same procedures, what kind of health care they would give, how long they would give it for, are there state regulations that say you can only provide health care for this person for so long, and then they go to a facility. Because we all know, and this is another factor, Sally dies, he's homeless. He has no life skills, no future, no hope, and hopefully that would be the driving force behind all of this. Anyway, I hope that helps. I'll see you guys in the next one.
It doesn't make sense to me, dude.